I've got good news and bad news. The good news is chocolate is good for you. The bad news is it's not this. It's actually this. Dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa is the one with all the health benefits, especially for the heart. So I decided, why don't I make brownies with dark chocolate and make it an easy recipe and make them dark chocolate fudge brownies and no butter in the entire recipe. That's what I'm doing. So let me talk about the chocolate first. You can find 70% bars in most of the stores. They have these high-end brands. These start at like $4.50. They're pretty expensive. Then they have this brand and they have this brand. But World Market has their own house brand. It's only $2.50 and it's actually 72%. So that's the one I'm going to use today. And I've used the high-end and the cheaper ones. No difference in the flavor at all of the brownies. So I'm going to use the 72%. The one from World Market. It's 3 ounces. That's a 3-ounce bar. We're going to start by melting the chocolate in a pot like this. Now you can melt chocolate in a microwave. It's a little complicated. You can use a double boiler. Too much trouble. So this one is, I'm just going to break it into bars, into pieces, put it in the pan, and just drop it in. Now, chocolate is delicate and it can burn, so I'm going to melt it together with the oil that's part of the recipe. I'm using a 1/4 cup of oil. I use extra light olive oil. You can use any oil you like, vegetable oil, coconut oil, whatever you like. It's a 1/4 cup, and make sure you measure it in a liquid measuring cup like this. Okay, this is the kind of cup you use for liquid. So I'm putting the oil in the pot with the chocolate. They'll melt together and it'll keep the chocolate from burning. Okay. You put this on a burner on the lowest possible heat you can because chocolate can burn. Just keep it low, and it takes maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like when it melts. All right, so that's been about 2 minutes, and see, you need to stir it while you're melting because you can't really tell if the chocolate's melted because it holds its shape. See, look, it looks like it's not melted, but it is. So that only took about 2 minutes, and you just stir it together. And then that's it. Now we're going to set this aside to cool down. You don't have to cool it, but you want to cool it down because we're going to be adding eggs in here and you don't want the eggs to cook. So I'm going to set it aside to cool. That's why I do this first, and everything else happens after this. So it's going to go onto a rack here to cool. And now we're going to prepare the pan. Now we're going to use an 8 by 8 inch square baking pan. And you're only going to grease the bottom and not the sides because you want the batter to kind of stick to the sides. It helps it rise up. Now, you can do it directly in the pan, but if you don't want any cleanup, and I don't, I'm going to line it with foil, so that way there's nothing to clean up. So I'll show you how an easy way to do this with foil. You take a piece of foil, and you can just kind of tie and tuck it in there, but if you set the pan on the foil and just kind of get the shape of it like that, it kind of helps to get it in there. See? It's got that square shape. It just pushes in there. You push up the sides. Don't use your nails. Use your knuckles to get the corners. And this means there's nothing to wash but one pot. Okay. Now the same thing here. I'm only going to grease the bottom and not the sides. And I find room temperature softened butter to be the best thing to grease with. I actually keep in my fridge a combination that I make of butter and extra light olive oil that I use for greasing all the time. It's always soft, so it's really great. So just use a paper towel, and I take some of my butter mixture, but you can just use softened butter. And we're going to grease only the bottom and not the sides. So that just takes a few seconds. I tried not greasing the foil, but it does kind of stick. So there, that's it. That's all set. The pan's ready to go. Now we're going to prepare the dry ingredients. And again, for no cleanup, I'm going to use wax paper. And we're going to sift the ingredients because when you use powdered cocoa, it really helps to incorporate it into the flour. So we're going to start with 1 cup of all-purpose flour. But here's the thing. Always aerate the flour before you measure for any baking, whether it's bread or any kind of pastries or cookies or cakes. Always aerate it because if you don't, you just dip in there, the flour has settled, you know, when you tap it and stuff, you'll get too much flour, your mixture will be dry. So aerate it by just getting in there with a spoon, stir it up, incorporate some air, and then you measure your flour. That's the right way to do it. And the best way is to take this is the kind of cup you use for dry measuring, just spoon it in there lightly, don't tap anything, don't tap the container, don't tap the cup. Just spoon it in there lightly, and once it's in there, you just level it off with the back of a knife or your spoon. And there's 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And we're going to sift it onto some wax paper. Okay? So 1 cup of flour. We're going to add 1/4 cup of cocoa. This is the brand of cocoa. I use Dutch processed cocoa. It's less bitter, deeper flavor, deeper dark chocolate color. And I also get this at World Market too. So that's the kind I'm using. You can use the other kind, regular kind, but this really makes it darker and better and richer tasting. So it's 1/4 cup of cocoa. And the other 2 dry ingredients are 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Now that's baking powder and not baking soda. They are very different. They can't replace each other. So it's baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's the dry ingredients. Now you can see this helps to incorporate the ingredients a little bit. If you don't have a sifter, you can put everything into a bowl. You put all these dry ingredients into a bowl and try to use a whisk or a fork and really, really get around there like that and stir it to combine the dry ingredients. Okay? So there's the dry ingredients. Now we can put it all together. It's pretty easy. Bringing this back, you see it's not very hot. It's all melted. Now we're going to start to add the rest of the ingredients. We're going to put in the sugar first because it's still warm. So it's 1 cup of sugar. Goes in. We're going to stir that. And here's the thing, you stir it as little as possible. Just until it's just mixed. You don't overmix this. No beater ever for this recipe. See? It's already combined. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. This is the brand of vanilla that I really, really like. I get it at Williams Sonoma. So it's 1 teaspoon of vanilla goes in here. Just add that, stir it in just a touch. And now we're going to add 2 eggs. I have the eggs at room temperature. This is cooled down now. If you haven't cooled it down enough, the eggs can start to cook. So here go the eggs, and stir right away. There you go. There it is. Everything so far in the pot, nothing to wash except this 1 pot. Okay. Now we're going to add the flour mixture that we put together right here. That's why I like the wax paper. There it goes. Okay. Again, stir as little as you can get away with. Don't overmix it. This is a silicone spatula or a spoonula or a spoon that I'm using. Okay. There it is. It's nice and thick. You can see you're going to have to kind of pat this, or, spread it into that's what I meant to say. You have to spread it into the pan. Okay? Now, at this point, I'm going to make sure it's all mixed. There it is. It's all mixed. At this point, you don't have to, but I like to add some nuts and chocolate chips. Here I have about 3/4 of a cup of toasted, both walnuts and pecans. Toasting makes a huge difference before you bake with them. So they're toasted in the batter. And 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. I have these 60% dark chocolate chips. They're made by a company called Calabo, I think. If you can't find dark chocolate chips, you can actually take a piece of the chocolate bar, another chocolate bar, chop it up into little chunks. But I'm using about 1/4 cup of chocolate chips. And that is it. I'm going to mix this together. I wish you could smell it. See how dark it is? It wouldn't be that dark without the Dutch processed cocoa. Okay. It's very thick. It should be thick like this. Now we're going to put it in the baking pan and put it in the oven. Okay. There's my pan. No cleanup. Now we're going to plop this in there, and you have to kind of spread it around a little bit. Okay. It's easy. It's like kind of one big lump here. So. And by the way, let me just tell you something. Don't ask me if you can make this with whole wheat pastry flour, because you can't. I tried it. It is not good. The result was kind of between, sludge and spackle or something. So anyway, it's got to be all-purpose flour. So, all right, into the pan, and you just kind of spread it around like this. And because it's thick, you do have to spread it a bit. I really need some chocolate today, too. I had to go to the doctor yesterday. It's not fun, I hate getting undressed in front of him. He's a good eye doctor, though. Okay, there it is. In the pan, all spread around. Now, you put this in your preheated 350-degree oven for 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes. Don't make me come to your house. 20 minutes. It smells so good in here. It's time to take them out of the oven with my brand new pot holders. You want to know where I got these? I made them. Okay, here it comes. Look at this. Oh my God, I wish you could smell it. All right, don't be tempted to overbake them, okay? Try to touch it like that. See how they feel a little soft? That's okay, it's a good thing. So no more than 20, and depending on your oven, check them at 17, 18 minutes. Okay, now you gotta give it a little time to cool down before you eat them, so you just gotta wait. Okay, they've cooled down a little bit, so let me show you why we use the foil. When you use the foil, you just lift it off the long side, lift it out. I know it's still a little soft, and it's still warm, but okay, look at that. And look at this pan, nothing to wash. That's why I do that. There's nothing to wash here. Okay, now you gotta see what this is gonna look like. I know they're still warm, but look. All right, there. See, it comes right off the foil. Look at this. Look. Look at that. It's still hot, but I don't care. I got to do it. Got to do it. Oh my God. It's hot. Nope, nothing to wash, just one pot. No butter. Easy recipe. Just the chewiest, fudgiest dark chocolate brownie you can imagine, with some actual health benefits. So you can't beat that. You got to try it. Now, I also want to take the opportunity to tell people thank you for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. I see all the comments. Let me read a couple to you. You suck. Jenny can cook? No, she can't. You're getting old, but not in a good way. Now, these all appear to be coming from the same person, so I just have one thing to say. Let it go, Mom. The most awesome, delicious, easy, healthy chicken pot pie, all from scratch, ready in an hour. The filling is rich and creamy. The crust is flaky. No butter, no cream. That's right. I'm about to show you the easiest, fastest pizza dough from scratch, ready to use in 20 minutes. Actually, it's less than 20 minutes. So watch this.